in the headlines at this hour on VTV News. Vietnam pledges to contribute to the new era of development. And Vietnam mobilizes resources to restore the livestock and aquaculture sector. In our world news, Israel declared no connection with the deadly pager explosion in Lebanon.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in to VTV News. I'm Huyen Tan with the top stories. Now, the UN Summit of the Future in New York, U.S. took place on Sunday night, Vietnam time. Party General Secretary and State President Tô Lâm led the high-ranking Vietnamese delegation to the summit and delivered a speech containing several important messages.
At the plenary session, Party General Secretary and State President Tô Lâm affirmed that human intelligence has transformed the world. However, he noted that it's also responsible for climate change, epidemics, resource depletion, and weapons of mass destruction. Emphasizing that present choices will shape the future, the top Vietnamese official advocated for promoting investment, medical research, education and training, digital transformation, and green transformation.
We are facing a historic opportunity to bring the world into a new era, an era of better development, social justice, and prosperity. Vietnam welcomes the documents adopted at the summit and hopes that they will be implemented resolutely and effectively. We hope that the United Nations, with its central and coordinating role, and international organizations will continue to make more practical, effective, and stronger contributions to prevent dangers to the world's development from today. We pledge to make active and effective contributions to building a peaceful world, promoting equality and people's happiness and prosperity.
This year's summit unanimously adopted the Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the Declaration on Future Generations.
The United Nations General Assembly adopted a Pact for the Future on Sunday. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres described it as a landmark agreement that is a step change towards a more effective, inclusive, networked multilateralism. The pact lays out some 56 broad actions that countries pledge to achieve. It also calls for reform of international financial institutions and the UN Security Council, while also calling for new efforts to tackle climate change, promote disarmament, and set out a direction for the development of artificial intelligence. The United Nations has described this as a groundbreaking blueprint for the future, with the aim of turning promises into practical actions to make a difference in the lives of more than 8 billion people worldwide. Party General Secretary and State President Tô Lâm attended the first anniversary of the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership between Vietnam and the U.S. on Monday morning in New York. Both countries are gearing up for the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations next year. And in his speech, Party General Secretary and State President Tô Lâm thanked the U.S. government and its people for their support during Typhoon Yagi. He also highlighted the unique process of reconciliation and relationship building between the two nations. The top Vietnamese leader urged both countries to strengthen cooperation by effectively implementing their joint declaration, enhancing high-level exchanges, and focusing on strategic breakthroughs in science, technology, and quality human resource training. He also called for collaborative efforts to address war consequences and contribute to peace and stability in the region and the world. Party General Secretary and State President Tô Lâm met with Vietnamese intellectuals in Houston, Texas on September 22nd, local time, as part of his trip to the U.S. He affirmed that the Vietnamese party and state always consider overseas Vietnamese an inseparable part of the nation and lauded the Vietnamese community in the U.S. for their contributions both to their host country and bilateral ties. The leader appreciated the dedication, vision, and tangible contributions of Vietnamese intellectuals to the homeland and expressed hope that they and their peers around the world will stay united and contribute more to Vietnam. During the meeting, the Vietnamese intellectuals donated $10,000 to support those affected by Typhoon Yagi in Vietnam. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính chaired the second government meeting in September on Monday, focusing on enhancing the legal framework. The discussion covered 4 key topics: the draft law on data, a proposal for a personal data protection law, amendments to the health insurance law, and a proposal to amend the law on lawyers. During the meeting, the Prime Minister emphasized the necessity of advancing institutional building in line with directives from the recent Party Central Committee session. He encouraged local authorities to take initiative and responsibility while the central government enhances oversight and resource allocation. The Prime Minister called for reducing administrative procedures and also cutting costs for citizens and businesses. He also urged the abolition of any practices that could foster corruption. Additionally, the Prime Minister highlighted the need for effective management tools that encourage innovation, ensure the legitimate rights of all parties, and strictly address violations. The National Assembly Standing Committee convened on Monday to discuss amendments to the corporate income tax law. Deputies recognized the importance of revisions to secure budget revenue, address transfer pricing, and combat tax evasion while also meeting international standards. However, concerns were raised about amendments largely legalizing existing regulations without introducing significant new policies. The committee urged further refinement of the draft to reflect the party's guidelines and tax reform goals. They recommended reviewing outdated tax incentives and reducing overlaps between social policies and tax exemptions to ensure tax neutrality. Emphasis was placed on including only issues within the National Assembly's jurisdiction in the law and excluding matters under the authority of the government and ministries. Now, to swiftly restore production in the livestock and aquaculture sector, which accounts for 50% of agricultural production value, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has launched a general resource mobilization program. More on this to follow.
According to ministry representatives, it's crucial to rapidly recover the growth momentum of the livestock and aquaculture sector. Currently, the Department of Livestock Production has mobilized nearly $285,000, while the Department of Fisheries has called for $3.4 million from almost 100 businesses, organizations, and individuals.
A company in Dak Lak is ready to provide high-density polyethylene materials and join Haiphong people in the recovery and reconstruction. Another company is also ready to provide 1 million seaweed seeds. In addition to providing seed and technical support, I hope that companies will learn from the typhoon to improve production and achieve the highest efficiency.
We request that the State Bank of Vietnam develop a policy to regulate new loans with longer terms that align with the production cycle of livestock. For example, raising egg-laying chickens requires a minimum of 12 to 18 months. Currently, enterprises and cooperatives can only borrow for 6 months before repayment is due. We also propose reducing some fees, such as quarantine fees, for a period of 6 months to 1 year, to help businesses overcome difficulties.
Priority will be given to breeds, feed, disinfectants, and equipment for rebuilding cage infrastructure and barns when seeking business support. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development will assign suitable businesses to each locality based on quantity and type of needs. These businesses will then guide local farmers in resuming production.
The impact of Typhoon number 3 is projected to reduce agricultural growth by 0.33%. The livestock and aquaculture sectors have been hit the hardest, More than 3 million poultry and nearly 22,000 livestock have perished, and 3,700 fish cages were swept away. The combined losses in these sectors are estimated to reach up to $284 million, factoring in both livestock and infrastructure damage. Local reports indicate that many farmers have lost between $240 to over $400,000. For example, in Vinh district, Quảng Ninh province, over 32,000 tons of seafood ready for harvest have been lost, equivalent to over $92.7 million. Many fish cage owners report needing a minimum investment of $12,000 to $16,000 to rebuild. Now, in response to the damage caused by the recent storms, 32 out of 40 banks have registered to provide low-interest loans to affected customers, according to the State Bank of Vietnam. These loans total over $16.4 billion, with interest rates reduced by 0.5% to 2%. Some banks are even waiving 50% to 100% of interest payments for customers until the end of the year. Statistics reveal that the banking sector has around $4.7 billion in outstanding loans due to impacts from Typhoon number 3. Significant losses are reported in Yên Bái, Hải Phòng, Quảng Ninh, and Hải Dương. Now, before we move on to other important updates, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rates of today, September 23rd. Coming up next on VTV News. Heavy rains submerged streets across Vinh City. And Cao Bằng steps up evacuation in landslide areas. Now moving on to other news, Storm Sulik has brought heavy rainfall to Nghệ An province over the past 2 days. Some districts and towns are experiencing landslides and floods, resulting in severe traffic jams. A report from the province.
Since Sunday evening, heavy rains have submerged various streets in Vinh City, causing severe traffic congestion. On 10 of the city's major streets, floodwaters have forced motorbikes and low chassis cars to pull over and park on sidewalks. Several vehicles have stalled in the floodwater. We should be careful when commuting under heavy rain like this. We should stop and wait until it's safe to travel. I've been here since 6 a.m. and seen various vehicles stalled. Hours of continuous rain and water accumulation since last night have caused severe flooding on numerous streets in Vinh City. The deep floodwaters have created rapid currents at drainage points, posing danger to both pedestrians and vehicles.
It's too deep. There are many twists and turns, so I have to turn back and find another way. Water levels have reached depths of 50 to 70 centimeters on some roads. As a result, since 9 a.m. Monday, Vinh City has temporarily suspended transportation to and from other localities to ensure safety.
These streets often flood badly, so we called for a quick response from relevant authorities.
By noon on Monday, rainfall in Vinh City and some surrounding areas had reached 150 millimeters. Heavy rain is forecast to continue. Therefore, authorities must promptly and effectively manage traffic to ensure safety and minimize flood damage.
In Mường Lát District, Thanh Hóa Province, 214 students from Trung Lý Ethnic Boarding Secondary School have been urgently evacuated to safety. The District People's Committee reports that this action follows heavy, prolonged rainfall, which caused significant cracking and landslides behind the school's boarding facility. The breeze has collapsed into 3 student dormitories, and the landslide threatens additional dorm rooms. Due to the complex flood situation, Mường Lát District has announced that all students will remain on leave from Monday until further notice. Additionally, on Sunday, Mường Chanh commune also evacuated 18 households living along the Siem River due to rising waters and swift currents. Currently, 11 mountainous districts in Thanh Hóa are at high risk of flash floods and landslides. Nguyên Bình and Bảo Lạc are the two districts most severely affected by floods and landslides in Cao Bằng province, which killed 55 people and left 2 missing. Numerous landslides stretching nearly 1 kilometer continue to occur in villages. As a result, local authorities have urgently evacuated residents. Current statistics show that nearly 1,000 people in Cao Bằng province are now living in temporary shelters.
Cracks in the ground, with rock and soil sliding down onto the roof of houses. 125 Zhao ethnic households have moved out of Lũng Luông village during the night. They are now living in temporary camps along the road.
There were too many landslides at night, so everyone ran away. The rain was too heavy. I had to escape to a safe place to save my life.
On the highest mountain peak of Ca Thành commune sits a Hmong ethnic village. Due to landslides, the villagers are now temporarily sheltering in the kindergarten's yard.
I heard calls urging us to run fast. We couldn't stay there anymore. So everyone ran fast and the place quickly collapsed.
Of the 1,000 people in Cao Bằng province forced to evacuate from landslide-prone areas, most are temporarily staying in various mountainous locations. The local government's primary concern is finding safe land for permanent resettlement.
Those living in the highlands can't move anywhere. They have to live with the floods. So the challenge is how to warn them about the risks and minimize damage.
The government should establish remote early warning monitoring system. Despite the danger, many people still return to the villages to care for livestock or retrieve valuable items.
Flash floods and landslides are two types of natural disasters that pose significant danger due to their sudden onset, often resulting in severe consequences for both people and property. The recent high death toll in affected provinces has highlighted the urgent need to re-evaluate the effectiveness of early warning systems for landslide risk in high-risk areas.
The route spans about 30 kilometers, but has nearly 50 landslides, many occurring just a few dozen meters apart. Cao Bằng province developed a landslide warning map and handed it over to the commune level in August 2023. This data aims to help localities issue early warnings to residents. However, during the recent typhoon Yagi, the map proved ineffective due to a lack of specific, real-time rainfall information.
Currently, our commune doesn't have any rain gauges, so it is impossible to warn the entire commune about the risk of landslides.
For maps of landslide risk zones to be effective, they must incorporate real-time hydrometeorological forecast data.
The integration of natural disaster warning maps for storms, floods, and landslides with hydrometeorological data hasn't been done yet. As a result, the system effectiveness remains low.
Building a comprehensive database system for landslide and flash flood risks is both costly and time-consuming. It's crucial to study and adopt methods from countries that have successfully implemented such systems.
In Thailand, they have a very simple but effective approach. They equip each commune with a rain gauge that has warning thresholds engraved on it. When rainfall reaches these thresholds, the system automatically issues a warning.
The maps of landslide risk zones accurately identify most landslide and flash flood locations. It would be a significant missed opportunity if this data weren't effectively utilized to provide early warnings to people.
On September 21st, the Vietnam National Oil and Gas Group, or PetroVietnam, began rebuilding the entire residential area of Kho Vàng village in Cốc Lầu commune, Bắc Hà district, Lào Cai province. providing housing for approximately 40 households. Ho Vang village, severely affected by natural disasters and also prone to landslides, will see its new residential area developed in accordance with modern rural standards while preserving the cultural traditions of the Tây and Hmong ethnic group. The village's main inhabitants. The 2.5-hectare area is expected to be completed by December 31st. Now, so far, PetroVietnam has contributed 50 billion Vietnam dong, or around $2.1 million, and nearly 100,000 liters of gasoline to aid recovery efforts in 21 provinces impacted by Typhoon number 3, including 2.3 billion Vietnam dong, or $96,000 for Lào Cai alone. Now, over the past decade, many regions in the Central Highlands have creatively engaged communities and transformed their agricultural practices to foster economic growth as part of the National Target Program for New Rural Development. This has led to significant improvements in village life, contributing to the broader progress of the country.
More than 50 years after the war, Tring village has revitalized. Spacious homes and clean concrete roads are adorned with vibrant flowers. Villagers attribute these changes to the new rural construction movement, which has reshaped mindsets and had a tangible impact on their fields and gardens.
Initially, we planted coffee, then added pepper, and recently intercropped durian. After harvesting durian for 2 years, we were finally able to build a house. My husband and I are very happy about this.
We are grateful to the party and the state for their support and efforts to encourage the community to focus on business. Many households have transformed, building solid homes. Some individuals have even donated land to help widen roads.
Cultural and sports facilities constructed by the community have transformed the countryside's appearance and enhanced the quality of life for residents.
We have established cooperative groups and cooperatives, in which the town partially supports technical advice and vocational training for artisans to preserve and pass on traditional crafts.
As of now, Dak Lak Province has 79 out of 151 communes that meet the criteria for new rural construction. The presence of traditional longhouses alongside well-built homes showcases the collective development of many villages in the Central Highlands today.
The Miss Cosmo 2024 contest features a series of festivals taking place in several provinces and cities in Vietnam. Following a visit to Hanoi, Ninh Bình is the second province to host 2 major events of the beauty pageant, the National Costume Show and the Hello Cosmo fashion show. More on this to follow.
Over 2 days, the contest showcased a fashion show to launch the event, followed by a national costume show celebrating global cultures. The costume sponsor, serving as a judge, aims to use this platform to promote Vietnamese fashion internationally.
We've brought a collection of costumes from world-leading designers. This event will promote Vietnamese culture and tourism, helping connect Vietnam with countries across the globe.
I chose Ninh Bình as Miss Cosmo's destination because I want to showcase it to the world. Secondly, Ninh Bình has a very welcoming environment for businesses, competitions, and cultural events. This openness allows us to connect with local enterprises, creating unique experiences like this for the local people.
The show marked the first official activity of Miss Cosmo 2024, giving 60 contestants from around the world a chance to introduce themselves to the public. Hosted in Vietnam for the first time, the contest serves not only as a beauty pageant, but also as a festival promoting Vietnamese culture and tourism to an international audience.
Coming up next in our world news. Israel declared no connection with deadly pager explosion in Lebanon. And Al Jazeera affirms its commitment to cover Gaza's conflict. Now moving on to our world news, Israel has denied having any involvement in the deadly exploding pager attack that injured thousands of people across Lebanon and Syria. In a statement issued on Sunday, Israeli President Isaac Herzog completely denied any involvement in the operation, saying Hezbollah has various enemies. The pager and walkie-talkie explosion that occurred on September 17th and 18th killed 45 people and injured more than 3,000. The Lebanese government and Hezbollah blame Israel for the incident. The world is deeply concerned over the risk of an all-out conflict between Israel and Hezbollah, which could cause the conflict to spread throughout the Middle East. Now, in a related development, according to some sources, Israel is preparing for a ground campaign against Lebanon. The move is believed to be aimed at establishing a buffer zone in the border area between the two countries. Al Jazeera on Sunday reaffirmed its unwavering commitment to continue reporting on the conflict in the West Bank after the Israeli army raided its offices in Ramallah and ordered them to close. Al Jazeera also condemned the raid by heavily armed Israeli soldiers on its office in Ramallah, saying it was illegal and aimed at preventing the world from seeing the real situation in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. The Al Jazeera is headquartered in Qatar and has offices in Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza. And since the Israel-Hamas conflict broke out in October last year, the channel has become one of the most active broadcasters, covering Israel's military operations and the conflict's impact on the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. Brussels hosts its 24th car-free Sunday, and on this day, roads are closed to motorized traffic, with the exception of public transport, emergency vehicles, and individuals who apply in advance for an exemption. The event aims to promote eco-friendly transportation and also reduce air pollution.
It's a tradition to round off Mobility Week. September 22nd is Car-Free Sunday in Brussels. During the day, the whole Brussels region is closed to traffic from 9:30 a.m. till 7 p.m., with the exception of public transport, taxis, emergency, police, and persons with a special permit. By bike, scooter, or on foot, alone, with family or friends, the participants take to the capital's usually most congested roads.
The aim was to experiment, to ride a bit more sportily around Brussels, because today will be less stopped by the traffic. So that's it, we've planned about 40 kilometers.
In terms of tourism, Brussels is waking up quietly this morning. The absence of cars means that the capital can be discovered in a different way.
It's very pleasant in any case. I don't know what it's like on a daily basis for you, but we like it.
Various activities are planned throughout the capital. Some people are taking the opportunity to combine business with pleasure by, for example, having their bikes checked for free before setting off again. The event is a good practice to raise awareness around air quality and the importance of shifting towards green mobility.
Now, as usual, let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.